Should they keep Marcus Rashford and Phil Foden in this lineup, or revert to Saka, Sterling, or a combination of the two? What are you thinking?
Well, there's been a narrative around England involving a few players. You think of Harry Maguire, probably most obviously, but also Raheem Sterling in particular, about loyalty over form, effectively, that Gareth Southgate has picked some of these players because of what they've done for England over a longer period of time, rather than what they've done with their Premier League clubs in the last sort of 6 months. And I think that's going to come to a head on Sunday because, you know, objectively speaking, you don't pick Raheem Sterling. You don't start him on form. He just isn't playing well enough. But, you know, Gareth Southgate has never started a knockout game without Raheem Sterling in his lineup. So you have to assume he's going to revert to type, given how methodical and sort of pragmatic and thoughtful he is about these lineups. You would assume that he will entrust Sterling with that responsibility again, knowing the firepower he's got off the bench. I would suggest, therefore, given how well Foden played, I think he'll go with Foden and Sterling either side of Kane. But look, I mean, it's going to be very difficult to drop Marcus Rashford. I suppose if you're being hypercritical about that performance, he did miss a good chance at 0-0. The first goal was a good hit, great free kick, but it was a free kick in isolation. And you could argue that the goalkeeper should have saved his second goal. Now, that's not to detract from anything that Marcus Rashford did. But given these extra fine margins we're talking about, and Bukayo Saka did so well in his first game in particular, look, I mean, he's got such attacking options there that it's going to come down to those little judgment calls here or there. But I would think Sterling will come back in because of that loyalty that's been repaid for him so many times in the past. And I just think the clamour around Foden was so great, and he played so well. Obviously, he scored as well to boot, that I think it would be those two.
I think he has to play Rashford. I can't see that you can watch him perform like that against Wales and not pick him. And it's probably one of those situations where Gareth will have looked at the groups and the games and the possible games to come in the knockouts and have an idea, even before the tournament, of the teams he wanted to play. But sometimes in World Cups things happen, and you just have to pick players who are absolutely banging form. And if you're Marcus Rashford starting that game against Senegal, just imagine the confidence and the belief that he's going to have when he starts that game. And even, you know, ahead before that, I think his style will suit a game against Senegal. I was at that Senegal-Ecuador game, and they are very, very strong centrally. If you've got pace out wide, and the pace and the directness that Rashford has, you know, Senegal will not want to see him on the team sheet on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, all of that makes perfect sense, and this is what I'm saying. This is the argument: is that is really that's unarguable what Rob's just said there. However, Southgate goes to Sterling in the big games.
Yeah,
and
it's what's going to happen.
And how do you find a place for him if you're going to, you know, Foden really, I think, has to play as well. So how do you find a place for him? Even if you change the system, you're not going to get 4 of them in there. So, and this could be the stick that Southgate's beaten with if they go out, of course. Say he goes with Sterling and he shuns a Rashford who's in top form now. That then comes down to that loyalty really backfiring in the biggest way possible.
The important thing to remember with this England team is obviously that no matter what, Marcus Rashford deserves some kind of significant role in this game. But the opponent is the crucial thing. To Rob's point, Senegal are very, very good, but they do allow some spaces, especially out wide. So it'll be intriguing to see how that works out. Let's ask this final question before we move on to both of you. Rob, I'll go with you first, and then James, you jump in. Would you rather have Netherlands instead of Senegal at this point, or the other way around?
No, you've got to take Senegal. I was surprised, actually, that judging by social media, that lots of England fans would have rather had Ecuador. I mean, I thought, you know, Senegal have had moments where they haven't looked great. They're obviously here without Sadio Mane. They missed 2 fantastic chances early on against Ecuador to put that game to bed, and they're missing that sharpness up front. You know, traditionally or through qualifying, they've built their qualifying campaign on not conceding goals, but they didn't look like that against Ecuador. They conceded from a set piece, a particularly sloppy mistake on a set piece. If you're England, you know, Senegal have got some great players, but there is no reason at all that England should not get through that game and into the quarterfinals.
Hayes, what do you think?
I think I'd rather have had the Netherlands, to be honest, because I just
See, I love this. This is great.
It's got. Do you know what? It's got the vibes of Colombia to me. This game in 2018, at the same stage, last 16, people looking at it going, okay, maybe we start thinking about the quarterfinals, and this is a game England should win. And Senegal, it's going to be the match of their lives. These Senegalese players, and I have reservations about England being able to sweep them aside, as so many people seem to think they confidently will. That game against Colombia became a bit of a war. That was an absolute attritional. Obviously, it came down to a penalty shootout in the end, and I could see it being similarly tight on Sunday. They know, there's no sort of unknowns in football anymore. But England would know more about the Dutch naturally. I've seen a few quotes from Phil Foden today, actually, just talking about the Senegal game, saying we don't really know a lot about the players, we don't know a lot about the team. We need to do our homework. That would not be the case with the Dutch. And obviously, remember, when you come into these tournaments, you can do an exponential amount of work on the group stage opponents, because they're going to be from sort of 7, 8, 9 months out. You've got 5 days here to prepare, and I'm not making excuses for England, but that's why I think if they'd got the Dutch, they'd be like, right, okay, I think we know how they set up. We know the individual players. Half of them play, almost all of them play in Europe, and half of them in the Premier League. There are fewer unknowns we need to factor in here. So I think I would rather have had the Dutch if I'd had the choice.
Well, I tell you what,
English
it's gonna
pessimism.
be an intriguing win. Yeah. hey, just like a cup
Covered
of tea.
England for too long.
Exactly.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.